appreciate you being here and at this time of day. Those of you that have had to cut work short or anything like that, we appreciate you making the time to be here. I want to start by acknowledging the Yagara and Turrbal people, the traditional custodians of the land on which we live and work and play here. Acknowledge them, their long connection to country, acknowledge that land was never ceded, and we commit ourselves to a more just future together. So tonight is our orientation program for semester 2. We're starting with the library orientation with Eve. Eve does need to go and couldn't stay for the rest of the night, so she'll go through her orientation part for the library. There will be some time to tour the campus, tour the library, all of that. We're going to have evening prayer at 5:15, so we've got plenty of time before then. And we will also have a light meal, depending if you think pizza's light or not. And then at 6 o'clock, we'll continue on with more of the detail of the orientation itself. But for now, we're going to start with Eve sharing the library information for us. So I'll pass over to you.
Thank you, Adam. So welcome. I'm going to start with our library website here. You are very fortunate. You've got access to both print and electronic resources if you're able to come here on campus. So I thought we'd start with what the Roscoe Library itself can offer. So to get to our website, our catalogue, it's simply Roscoe, ROSCOE, .org.au. And that brings up this particular website here. So just to show you a couple of things that I think are pretty important from here, we've tried to make things as easy as possible, and we think that if you know roscoe.org.au, you won't need any other websites to get around, and I'll show you why that's the case. So firstly, all of these tiles underneath here take you to other sites, but they open in new windows, so you can always get back to the one that we're working with. So let's start on this one here, and it tells you all about the Roscoe Library. So if you're trying to remember how to do something, click on that central tile on our roscoe.org.au, and if from this particular page, there are other links that tell you how best to use the library. And one of the things I should have said right from the beginning is that I work Mondays to Fridays during the day. Susan Thomas is another librarian, and she works on Thursdays and Fridays. And then we've got a band of about 9 wonderful volunteers, a number of whom were here today, and they do all of the end processing. They type up tables of content so that if you're searching from a distance, you'll be able to see inside the book and say, can you please scan chapter 5 for me, that type of thing. They do the stock take. They're just brilliant. So they also know how the system works. They've all got access to the back end of the system. They can return books for you, and they know all about the library. So if I'm at a meeting and you're up there and you can see one of the volunteers, don't hesitate to ask them. They're very helpful. Okay, the St. Francis College website is here. You'd be all familiar with that one because that's where you will have gone to find out what subjects you're thinking of doing this semester. But what I really want to draw your attention to is when you click on that one and go to the very, very bottom of the screen, you've got to subscribe. And this will sign you up to Frank's News, which is our monthly newsletter, which will keep you on track with everything that's happening around the college. So I strongly recommend that you subscribe to Frank's News. That's at the bottom of the St. Francis College homepage. Okay, I'm going to use our new books just as a way of showing you some of the stuff on our catalogue. So on the front page, we've got the things that we've added in July, and underneath that, we've got the things that we've added in 2025. Underneath that image where you can see the little magnifying glass. If you click on that, it will take you to all of those books. These are the ones that have been added this year to the catalogue. You can see up the top there's 187 of them. So just to show you how to navigate around the catalogue, these arrows at the top, a single one will take you to the next 20 items. The double one takes you to the end. A single one back will take you back one page. The double one will take you back to the beginning. So that's in terms of navigation. You'll notice that you can sort. It's sorting by what it calls relevance, but who knows what that is. So let's choose another option there. You could choose title, for example. Please be aware that when you are searching, sorting according to title, it ignores the, and. It'll take the first significant word. And if there's a number in the title, as you can see, they come up first. And then it's alphabetical from then. Alternatively, if you were thinking of a particular book and you knew it started with W, but you couldn't remember what it was, you can go title descending, in which case it starts at the other end of the alphabet and comes forward. One of the ones that I use quite often is year descending, because that gives me the things that were published most recently. So that can be a very useful one. And the other one that I use quite often is classification, because once you've got it sorted in your head, how the Dewey Decimal Classification system works, if you sort it via classification, you can see in an instant if there are things in the area that you're searching for. If you come upstairs with me after we've done down here, we've got a cheat sheet for the Dewey Decimal Classification system until you get it sorted in your head. In broad terms, the 200s are religion. So most of our collection is in the 200s. We do have other areas where we're very strong as well, but most of our collection is the 200s. 220s, you're going to find your biblical material. The 230s, your systematic theology. 240s, you'll find things to do with prayer and Christian life and practice and intersection of theology and arts. In the 250s, you'll find local church things, including pastoral care or spiritual direction, homiletics, youth work. In the 260s, you'll find structural church things. So ecclesiology, you'll find your public worship, you'll find retreats, Christian education. 270s is your church history. The 280s, you're going to find various denominations. So we've got lots in 283, which is Anglicanism. 290s, you'll find histories and biographies, but just use the actual number that comes up on your catalogue and you can go and find it there. I strongly recommend shelf browsing. So if you find a book that's really useful to you, go and have a look around it, because you will probably find some other books by different authors on the same topic. You can shelf browse electronically as well, just by putting in the actual classification number and searching around there. So that's classification. The GMD is the general material description. So that's going to be, if you were wanting a different format. So if you sorted it that way, you're going to find your ebooks in a separate category than your print ones, for example. Okay, so let's have a look at some other things here. If you hover over a title, you get to see a little bit more information, including which collection it's in. In this case, it's in the picture books. It's one copy and it's available. If you click on a title, you get to see more information about it. You haven't lost your search. You can close it with the X in the top right-hand corner. Your search is still behind there. I'm doing it by classification. I'm thinking, why have we only got picture books here? We do actually have things beyond picture books. although you might want to cite some of those occasionally. Okay, so living and working with AI. So just any of these are live links here, and they will take you to other links. So, okay, those subjects must be occurring. Sorry, that's a distraction for me. I will sort that one later. That's just a bit odd. That's all. Let's move on, I think, unless there's a question at this stage. Okay, you can sort down, oh, sorry, you can filter down the side, just the way you would with any of your library catalogues that you're probably used to. You're not restricted by just using this one here. You can also look at it differently if you prefer tiles to the way that it was showing there. You can click on the tiles if that appeals to you more. Okay, this up in the top left-hand corner, this is called a hamburger menu with the 3 stripes. You've got your bun and your filling in between. And you'll notice that I haven't logged in. That's poor practice. The first thing you ought to do when you come to our catalogue is to log in because of 2 reasons. If you're thinking that you're wanting to reserve or request a book, you can only do that if you're logged in. And you get more search options if you are in fact logged in. For example, we have set aside some books for each of your subjects in the closed reserve section upstairs. To be able to access closed reserve, the easiest way to do it is if you're actually logged in. So I'm just going to take a moment to log in, and I'll use my personal one. The first time I did this in front of a group, I used my work one, and it showed who was borrowing books and all sorts of totally unprofessional things, and I was very embarrassed. So I've learned. Now, when you're logged in, your name will appear at the top there. So that will give you a hint. Okay, so let's go back to that hamburger menu. And for those of you who were looking very carefully before, you may notice that it's now a little different. Can you see that there's a My Portal there? So that's your portal. And under your portal, you get to see lots of things. So, for example, loans. Under loans, you'll get to see your loan history. So, current loans, none. Loan history of 113. If I clicked on that, you'd see what I've been looking at. You'll see I've got no overdue loans. That's very nice. But that is where you would go in as well if you're wishing to renew your books. You'd go in under loans. The alternative is to download the Liberty Link app on your phone, and you can both borrow and extend books using the app on your phone. You can get to that from the home screen as well. To do that, you're going to need 2 devices, your phone and a computer, because once you are signed in on your computer, you will then be scanning a QR code from your computer. So to download that app, the instructions are on the front page. So let's go back to that front page, and you do that by using the home button. Absolutely. You're going to need to register. Very good question. Up in that top right-hand corner where I logged in before, just before where my name is here, that will say register. So if you click on register, it will come up on my machine, and then I will process that membership. So we can do that after I'm finished here.
And if you go upstairs, there's a QR code too. Is that for registering?
No, that's if you want to pay us money. You know, that's for people, for Roscoe Library membership, for people who have no connection with the Anglican Church Southern Queensland or the University of Divinity. They can still become members of the library, but they need to pay. But you don't need to do that. So you can just go on here and you'll be fine. Are there any other questions? Just as I said, it was on the home screen before, so let me just show you where I'm talking about. It's this one here, where it says the Roscoe Library mobile app. people they see a QR code and immediately put their phones in front of it and try scanning it. It's not going to work to get onto the app. You actually have to download the app. So follow the instructions. It tells you to download the app, sign in on your computer, and then once you're signed in, that QR code says Roscoe Library and who you are, and that's the information that's in it.
Your QR code.
That QR code is specific for me under that login. It's useful to have this because if you're out and about and you're not sure if there's a particular resource at the Roscoe Library, you can search on your phone. It's really handy.
You say there's a cheat sheet for the classifications?
Yes, upstairs. Okay. Let me start here. We have tagged resources for the subjects that we teach, and because they all start with different letters, CH for church history, AL for the biblical languages, BN for the New Testament studies, etc., we wanted to keep them together. So we started with UD, and then they start coming up there. So if you can't see yours there, you might need to go a little bit further. So let's go space and let's go CH. Okay, so these are the ones. I think this semester we might be doing 1002, building a church. So if we click on that and then click on the search across to the right, it's bringing up just 12 items, which doesn't look like very much. That's because they are the books that have been set aside in closed reserve. So let me just hover and you get to see a certain amount of information, including the fact that it says UD students and staff click here to access the ebook. So we have, as far as we can, gone through and looked at the resources that we've got in print and checked whether or not those resources are available at the University of Divinity Library Hub. And if they are available at the Library Hub, we've added a link so that you can go straight to that resource by clicking on that link there. However, I'll get Adam to talk about Lean Library later as to why that might be useful. I'm just going to get it out of our way for the moment. So going back to there, you can see down the bottom that we've got one copy in closed reserve, and things that are in closed reserve can't be borrowed, but you can scan for free within copyright limits, which is 10% or one chapter, depending upon which is larger. If I click on the title, you'll get to see that we've got quite an extensive abstract for this one telling you what the resource is about, but then we've got a whole heap of the table of contents. Now, if you were looking at something on creeds, you could copy that. And if I just go out of that for a moment, I'm looking at this first one. I am logged in. Can you see up here? Can you see that? Yep. Okay, that request is grayed out. So I'm logged in, it knows who I am, but it doesn't know what I'm interested in. If I click the square in front of it, it now knows what I'm talking about, and that request has now become live. So if I click on that request, it's sending an email to the library. It's from Eve. This is the thing that I'm interested in, but I don't actually, if I want the physical book, at that stage, I would click across here, send. That has sent the library an email. We will find that book. We will check it out to you if it were available. And we would put it on top of the returns trolley ready for you to collect. The returns trolleys at the top of the stairs. Now, I'm just showing you a very poor thing. We've only got one copy. It's in closed reserve. So that was a really silly thing to show you because you cannot actually borrow that one. But what you could do is, remember I copied that bit to do with the creed. So let's go back to this again. Let's go request. And this time, let's just say, please copy creeds and send. So I get an email. It's got your email address in it. I see what this is. And on the day that we get it, we process it and you will get that scanned to you, providing it's within copyright limits.
You also scan the first page with the details of the book.
That's a very good question. A very, very good question, in fact, because whenever you are getting any resources for yourself, please scan the title page and the title page verso, because that will give you all of the publication details that you're needing if you're wishing to refer to that resource in your assignment. So yes, when we scan something for you, we always scan first the title page verso. We put a copyright statement on the front, and then we scan the section that you're wanting. Any other questions with that? Okay. Just going to go into the more detailed one. You'll see that we've got both lists and closed reserve. Closed reserve, there are 12 items. Lists, there are 42. Those 12 are a subset of that 42. The 42 items are resources that we've tagged as being useful in this subject. They might be ones that your lecturer has taken a chapter from for you to read, or it just might be that this is, we think, is a really interesting resource that could be useful to you. So if you've clicked on this one here, which we obviously had, there was no other book there that that you could borrow there. Let's click on that broader list, because that's going to bring up a whole heap of resources, including some that would be able to be borrowed. So let's look at this, the Barbarian Conversion. You could get it as an ebook if you wanted to. Okay, we've got one copy, it's in Maine and it's available. So can you request that?
Yes.
Yes, you can. You could have the print copy if you wanted to. The only other thing that I really wanted to stress to you is that there's a difference between request and reserve. If Katrina had the book out and you wanted that same book, you can put a reservation on that book. That does two things. It means that when it's due to be returned, if Katrina goes to renew it, she'll be given a message that no, she can't. It needs to be returned, because if you've got a reservation on it, it cannot be borrowed. It needs to come back. But the other thing it does is that when the library staff are returning it, it says that Robert's got a reservation on this. Do you want to let him know? We click a button. Robert gets an email to say that this book has been returned, and then we automatically check it out to him and have it sitting there waiting for him to borrow. So reservations are only for items that are currently on loan. If you reserve an item that is here in the library, I just get an error message that says, where's this book? Okay, so then I have to go into reservations and go the back route to try and find out, well, who is it that actually wants this book? And then, so it takes a little bit longer, and someone else might have walked out with it in the meantime. So get it right. If it's a book that's in the library and you'd like me to get it for you, hit request. Okay, that's the difference there. Okay, let's go. If there are no other questions there, let me go back to the top of my screen, back to that home. And I said before that roscoe.org.au is the only thing you're needing, because from here you can also go to the University of Divinity Library Hub. If you click anywhere in that space, it will take you to the Library Hub. There's that lean library again, talk to Adam. Okay. So St. Francis College is part of the University of Divinity, which is a collegiate university. And across all of the colleges, we all have access to these electronic resources, to journal databases, ebooks, a whole heap of resources, and they're all located. You can find all of those from this particular site here, which is the Library Hub. I just wanted to very quickly show you, very quickly, I'm just seeing what the time is, the band across the top. These are all drop-down menus, tells you all about the libraries that are involved in the Library Hub, etc. For people who are, for example, in Melbourne, where there are a number of colleges that are associated with the University of Divinity, it might be more feasible for you to be able to go into other libraries and to borrow. We're the only college in Queensland, so we do our darndest to try and get the print resources that you will be needing. Okay, under the Find and Access, that is a tab you're going to go to all of the time, because you will be expected to have journal articles to back up whatever you're arguing in your assignment. And this is the best place for you to go to find those. So you could go into the journals or into the journal databases. That's a whole separate lesson, so to speak, but I'll show you how we can get around that. So that's one of the ones you're going to go to all of the time. The library guides, or LibGuides as they're known for short, this is an area where I think you do need to begin. In particular, the Library Hub guide, because remember, this interface we're using at the moment is the Library Hub. So most of the material on the Library Hub guide is going to be particularly relevant to you. Some of them about borrowing print resources from other libraries, which is only a small amount of what's on the Library Hub. That may not be as beneficial to you, but everything else on here is really, really important. With a LibGuide, the structure is the same. You've got your landing page, and then down to the left, each of these will take you onto a new section. So for example, if you were to click on searching, because once you've got your assignment, that's probably where you're going to start, is trying to find resources. So if you clicked on searching, underneath searching, you've now got all of these other tabs. So it starts with searching. It explains to you about, so from that, move through, use filters to limit your search result. Searching for books and ebooks. Each of these is a tab which shows you how to do things. So I would strongly recommend, before your classes start, working your way through each of those tabs down the side of the Library Hub. Very, very useful. It will be time well spent. There are little videos. There's lots of information how best to search, things you don't have to worry about. So for example, capitalization. It doesn't care if you've got a capital or not. If you're searching for something, you can leave out the unless you've got it in quotation marks. If you're searching for a specific title, you would leave the of, whatever in the middle of it. But apart from that, if it's not in quotation marks, don't worry about punctuation. So there are some things which will speed things up for you. So the journal articles and databases, I said before that there would be ways for you to learn how to do it. This will show you some of those. So I strongly recommend that you make your way through the Library Hub guide. The other one underneath that, I'm just going to click on Library Hub up the top left-hand corner, which will take me back to this one. Underneath that, the other guide that I would strongly suggest you go to are two actually. The style guide, because you are going to need to reference your resources. This is under review at the moment, but what I would suggest would be safe is if you clicked on, in the main body of this, the Chicago Manual of Style Online. If you're using 17, version 17, that's fine at this stage. If you wanted to start using 18, click on CMOS, Chicago Manual of Style 18. And then what I do from that point is I click on the Citation Quick Guide. And we use the notes and bibliography formatting. So if you click on that, and then if you're needing to reference a book, there's your book. If you're needing to reference a chapter or other part of an edited book, it'll show you how your notes should appear. It'll show you how the bibliography entry would appear. Translated book. So there's this will cover most of the items that you're using. So I would, that's another place where I'd be putting some time, would be getting used to how to do your referencing. Just going to go back to the Library Hub again. The other guide is the citation software. For those of you who have studied with this in the past, you'd be familiar with EndNote. The university is no longer supporting that. Zotero is a bibliographic management system. It is free. And here is a study guide, a LibGuide rather, on how to use Zotero. And like all of the LibGuides, down the left-hand side will take you to further information. So depending upon what your question is. So I'd strongly recommend you look at the citation guide as well. What I also should say is that, as I said, I'm here Monday to Friday. Susan's here Thursday, Friday. We're both librarians. This is our bread and butter. We are more than happy to assist you with this. And if we get stuck, we've got other friends we can phone to assist us. Are there any questions on those parts? Okay. All right. I suggested before that you sign up to Frank's News. The other one that I would suggest you sign up to is Vox. It's the equivalent. It comes out Friday afternoon from the University of Divinity. It gives you an idea of what's happening in the wider university. So underneath the tab of University, you can go to the University of Divinity's website, to ARC, where you'll find your learning management system, Paradigm, which is all things to do with your enrolment, and Vox, which is the university's newsletter. And once again, you can sign up to that just by clicking on that. You'll have an option there somewhere, which I can't see at the moment. There is, top right-hand corner, subscribe. And you'll just get an email every Friday telling you what's happening around the university. There are other things just in terms of how we operate upstairs, but I figured that as this is going on Zoom, that really wouldn't be working very well. It's about 8 minutes, I think, before the chapel. So if you've not yet been upstairs, if you're happy to run up with me now, I can do a very, very quick orientation.
I'm happy to move chapel back to 20 past, if that helps.
Yep, that. Okay. All right.
I don't know if that's enough time, but a bit more.
It will be sufficient to be able to say, for those and even people on Zoom, you can scan to your email for free, but I'd need to show you a fob to get onto the machine to do that. You can photocopy or print at 8 cents per A4 page. You'd need to set up your own account to do that, and I can show you how to do that. Just some other housekeeping sorts of things. The back of this room here, the books across there are for free. The books on this side here are the remnants of a donation. They're for sale, as in the marked prices there. The books in the kitchen are part of our collection. They are not for taking. That you can borrow them, but only if they're checked out to you. Okay, so thank you for your attention. I look forward to working with you this semester. We have a door code, which means that you can get into the library 24/7. But to get into the library, you need a key to this building. So you're going to need to talk with Tim in administration to get a key to this building. But then you've got a 4-digit code, which I'll show you when you come upstairs, for getting into the library. So you can come and work here on a weekend and make the most of the closed reserve books, scan to your heart's content within copyright limits. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Eve. Thanks so much.
What are the hours of the library?
It's officially opened 9:30 till 4:30. It's often open from 8:30. It's often open until 5. But officially, you can rely upon it being open 9:30 till 4:30, Monday to Friday. But beyond that, get yourself a key and you can go in. But it will be staffed during the times I've just said.
But if you're doing an evening lecture, it would usually be easy to access it, you know, between 4:30 and 6. Yeah, before the evening lecture.
You stopped recording.
Thank you all for coming along to this orientation for semester 2 2025, and welcome those of you that are online as well as those in the room. Appreciate you taking the time out to learn about how to get around all that you need to know. An opportunity for you to ask questions along the way as well. I did start by acknowledging the Yagara and Turrbal people. I'll do that again now. Traditional custodians of the land on which we meet, acknowledge their connection to country, that their land was never ceded, and we commit ourselves to a more just future together. So we did have a library orientation earlier. That was recorded for and will be posted into the orientation site in probably tomorrow. You'll have access to that. So for those that missed that, you'll be able to see Eve's guidance around the library systems via the recording. This is also being recorded, so there'll be others the entire recording, so that they have a good idea of how to get them around. My name's Adam Couchman. I'm the Academic Dean here at St Francis College, and it's a privilege for me to be in that role. I have the responsibility of oversight of curriculum and academic quality. I also teach in the areas of systematic theology and liturgy, and so it's my privilege to welcome you and to help guide you through your studies, along with the rest of the team of lecturers and staff who make up this wonderful college. You are signed up to be a part of St Francis College, which is also a part of the University of Divinity. The University of Divinity is a collegiate university, meaning that it is made up of a number of different colleges from around the country. Its history dates back to 1910 or 12, I can't remember exactly the date now, that's off the top of my head. And if you can imagine, Australia became federated in 1901, and prior to that date, the universities that were established in Australia did not include, or in fact actively excluded, theology, divinity from their constitution. So if you go along to Sydney University or Melbourne University, big sandstone ones, they do not do theology or divinity. So for churches to train their clergy, they had to send them overseas, and this newborn country following 1901 the churches said to the government, "This is crazy, can we please do our own thing?" And so the government obliged and established the Melbourne College of Divinity, because that's where the national capital was at the time. Now, some 100 years later, that Melbourne College of Divinity became the University of the Melbourne College of Divinity, which was a really strange name in its first instance, which was then changed to the University of Divinity, and that's us. So we go all the way back to that establishment by Act of Parliament. We're a very unique university in the theological world in Australia, in that we're the only ones that are established in that way. And there have been different colleges that have formed a part of that university that have come and gone. We are one of the recent additions to the University of Divinity. Only a few years ago, St Francis College became a member college of the University of Divinity. But you can see here on the screen that there are a number of colleges across the country, and they also represent a number of different traditions as well. What is great about this arrangement is that you can study here as your home college, but you can also include units from these other colleges as well, and they automatically fit into your program. There's no magic formula of fitting them in. As long as they meet the requirements of your course, you can simply do those units at other colleges if you're interested in what they are, and if they add to what you're wanting to study. We will give you that guidance, but we can just put you into that unit and you're ready to go straight away. It also gives a wonderful ecumenical flavour to the university. When there are inter-college and student gatherings, we usually attend them online because of our being the only one here in Queensland, but it does mean that there is a real ecumenical flavour to what the university is and does. And we want to encourage that, we want to be a part of that, and we want you to benefit from that as well in your studies. Here at St Francis College, we are guided by our principal, Ruth Matheson, on the academic dean. We have our registrar, Linda, and our research coordinator, Peter. I wonder if each of you would mind briefly coming and just giving a short introduction. If you could do it to the camera, that would be good, just so that people online can see you as well.
Hello, yes, lovely to meet those of you online as well as those of you who are gathered here in the room. I'm Ruth, I'm the principal here, and I teach in the area of biblical studies. My specialist area is Matthew's Gospel, and using socio-rhetorical interpretation for particularly New Testament texts. But it's a privilege to be able to teach introduction to biblical studies and to I know that when I first started doing biblical studies, I loved that opportunity to go deep and wide, and it's lovely to be introducing other people to that opportunity. So I'm Ruth.
Hi, I'm Linda. I'm the registrar. I'm the link between the university and you students. So I'm responsible for your enrolments, your changes of enrolments, your changes of course, anything that you need as a student support, anything like that. So if you've got anything that is troubling you or you'd like to ask, I'm here to help you. Get in contact.
Hello, everybody online. Hello, everyone in the room. I'm Peter Klein. I'm the research coordinator here at the college, and I also teach in the area of systematic theology. So I teach classes on the Trinity and the doctrine of the Incarnation. I teach classes on the human person, so theological anthropology is the fancy term for that. And then this semester, I'm doing one of my favorite units, which is called mystical theology. So I really love this unit. It's where we explore kind of the outer edges of theological knowing, where theological knowing kind of tips into unknowing. And that's what mystical theology is all about. So I'm really excited to do that this semester.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to invite Robin, if you would like to come and introduce yourself and your role with the college.
Hi, everybody online and in the room. My name's Robin Ray. I'm a retired academic with a health professional background. And in my retirement, it's my privilege to offer academic writing support to people. So if you've got any problems, often Linda sends me an email and says, can you contact this person? They might just need a little bit of help with this. I can cover a range of issues, so it's not just one recipe fits everybody. So whatever your need might be, we can look at how we might address that, from basic study skills right through to your presenting assignments that actually meet the criteria. Okay, so have a great semester.
Thanks, Robin. All right, I might just stop sharing my screen, and I could see Matthew Beckman there. Who else have we got on that's a lecturer? Just Matthew. Matthew, would you mind introducing yourself to us as well, please?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Matthew Beckman. I look after church history around the place, or aspects of it, one of which will be an early unit I imagine you're going to encounter, Building a Church, Christianity and the Imperium in the First Millennium, which is arguably the longest title for a unit anywhere in the university. And so we'll do the First Millennium all told. And then much shorter, at least in terms of title, Cracking a Precedent, which is the story of the Reformation and how we get from being this mighty church of the first millennium into something quite different in the second.
Thank you, Matthew. Appreciate you coming along. If you need to drop out at any stage, feel free to disappear. We appreciate you being here. Matthew is actually a Franciscan, so it's great that we have a real-life Franciscan at St Francis College teaching in our midst. So thank you for being a part of our faculty. All right, I might hand over to Linda for site orientation. I'll share my PowerPoint again, just make sure I've got that.
So this is just all of the workplace health and safety sort of things that you need when you're around the college. Rod Mengel, who's the Property Finance and Administration Officer, he normally does this talk, but he's elsewhere tonight. So this is what he would have told you. Here you see a map of the college. So please familiarise yourself with the emergency evacuation diagram. So if we have a fire or emergency, we need to move down the ring road out onto the Baruna Road exit and wait on that pathway down there on Baruna Road until the emergency situation is over. Emergency contact numbers, first aid officers, fire wardens, etc. All of their numbers and names are on the back wall or on the doors of buildings. Also on that back wall there you can see the AED device, and also some asthma puffers and an EpiPen, should anybody need that. First aid kits are located in all of the kitchens. So there's one in here, there's one in admin, one in Old Bishopsbourne. Well, I've got light switches sitting down here, but there's a light switch in each room. Please, when you leave the room, switch it off. The toilets are the main closest ones are in admin. There's also some up in Old Bishopsbourne and under main wing if you happen to be in lecture room 2 at any time. There's a key, a college key, that's sort of a master key that will get you into the toilets, and it will get you into the main door here to get up to the library. So make sure if you want one of those keys to go see Tim or Rod in admin, and they will sign you out a college key.
And the chapel.
Oh, sorry, and the chapel and the common room if you ever need the common room. Obviously, in an emergency, call 000. If you have a look in the little pack that I put on your table there are 3 handout sheets, which I'll leave you to read at your own leisure.
Just for the sake of people online, we'll put those into the orientation site.
That's a good idea. Yep.
Which they won't know where that is yet, but they will know soon.
After Peter's discussed it with you, yes. If you are attending on site or coming into lectures and you are sick, please don't share your germs with us. So stay home. All of our lectures are Zoomed and are available in recorded form after the lecture, so you won't miss out if you don't come in because you're sick. Yes. We have a reporting system if something happens to go wrong. So the first QR code there, and these QR codes are found on the walls or on the doors near the exits, so that you can report something that has gone wrong or potentially could go wrong. A repairs and maintenance request is the first one. So if something is broken, it can be reported. An incident report, if somebody has tripped over and hurt themselves in some way, please report it, particularly if they need medical attention. And then the last one is a hazard report. So something hasn't happened yet, but you can see something potentially happening, like a raised piece of carpet or something like that. Just scan those codes and put the information in there. So you may have lectures during the day, or you may have them in the evening. If you have an evening lecture, then we have some after hours protocols. You will have, I've mentioned the college key. So get one of those, especially if you want to come into the and use the Roscoe Library on a weekend to do your assignments. You're quite welcome to do that, but you will need a key. Please make sure, first of all, that you've got the code from Eve so that you can actually get into the library upstairs, and that when you have finished, you turn off the lights, air conditioning, and shut the doors, especially this main front door here after you've finished. If you are here for a late night lecture, finishing at 9, and you happen to have moved around all the chairs and tables, please could you put them back, because there might be a lecture or a meeting starting at 9 o'clock in the morning, and we won't be able to put the room back in time. Take away all your rubbish so we don't feed the mice. The control is here to turn it off and on at the wall, but please don't change the settings at all. Also, when you leave, please turn off the lights, close the windows, and lock all the doors. Oh, and also turn the urn off. And for the safety of the lecturer at 9 o'clock at night, if somebody could just wait behind and make sure when the lecturer closes off the toilet area down there that they are safely into their car or on their way home, that would be appreciated. We have a car parking permit system here, which we can, or Tim will give you a little car parking permit to put on the dashboard of your car, and that will enable our car parking inspectors to ignore your car and not give you nasty little notices saying you're not allowed to park here.
During the day, or
yes, during mostly during the day. Yeah. Please park. If you're here during the day, park in the lower car park, which is accessed via the downward sloping drive to the left of admin as we're facing it now. If it's a after hours lecture, you're quite welcome to park here, but please don't park in the residents' car parking area. Also, don't park on the ring road, because we try to leave them for elderly people or people with limited mobility. The speed limit is 15 kilometres an hour. We have small children who do live here on campus and who play around the grounds, sometimes on the roads. So please keep your speed down. Wi-Fi, there is free Wi-Fi, and the little card up there, the code is the Wi-Fi MEC guest, and there's a very complicated password there for you to load that into your computers.
If you haven't got your device, you might want to take a photo of it on your phone.
Yeah.
We have lots of methods of communication around the college. We are present on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, I think TikTok even. And we also have what was the other one? I've missed one.
LinkedIn.
I did that one. Anyway, there's about 4 of them. Oh, YouTube, that's the other one. What was that?
Truth Social.
Oh.
We're not on
No. We also have a monthly online newsletter called Frank's News. That contains all of the upcoming events and keeps you in contact with the college and everything that's going on. So sign up to Frank's News so you don't miss out on anything. I think that's it for me for this part.
I'll just check if there's any questions at this point. Thank you for those online enduring a very, very focused thing on those in the room. Are there any questions, though, about any of those practical matters? Okay, I will turn it.
Yeah, do you mind, if I have sharing privileges?
Should do.
Okay, let's see here. Okay. Excellent. Now, can you all hear me online okay?
Yep.
Yes, okay, great. Just want to make sure I'm coming through. All right, hello everyone. My job in the next few minutes is to make sure that you are properly oriented to ARC. So, do we know what ARC is? So for some of you may have never heard of ARC. So ARC is the kind of online center hub where everything related to the unit or units that you're doing can be found. So it's the source of information. It's the source of where you'll know what you're doing from week to week. It's the source where you'll get your readings from week to week. It's the place where your lecturer will communicate with you. It's the place where you will submit your assessments. It's basically the portal that you will do everything that you do related to your unit. So that's what ARC is called. So usually with these things, there's like a clever acronym that ARK is supposed to stand for something. In this case, it's not, right? There's no ARK. It's just ARC, right? It's a biblical term, Noah's Ark, floating around, whatever. So that but there's no. Oh yeah. So yeah, maybe there. It just is ARC. So now to get to ARC is the website I've got up there, but you might not be able to see it. It's just arc.divinity.edu.au. That's how you get to this portal site, arc.divinity.edu.au. Now, all of you should have received an email that gives you information about how to find this website, how to find it, and how to log in. And as part of that, you will have a username and you'll have a password. So if you're not familiar or you don't remember receiving that email, check your inbox, because Linda would have been the one.
To everybody, it's called Welcome to St. Francis College. So find that email, it's coming from me.
Yep. Find that, welcome to, and it will have the information specific to you. And it's really imperative that you figure out how to log on to ARC as soon as you can. Just so that if there's any problems with you logging onto ARC, you can contact us and we can troubleshoot those problems. We want to help you because it's a really vital thing that you're able to access ARC. And for most of your units, you'll want to be able to look on ARC, kind of get a feel for the unit. It's where you'll get your unit profile, where you can read about your assessments, where you can read about what you're doing in the unit. And for a lot of the units, you'll have classes start next week. You'll have a reading for your first week, or an activity to do, or something to watch. So you kind of hit the ground running here. So you'll want to be able to log. So don't wait until you show up to the first day of class to figure out how to log onto ARC. Figure out how to do it beforehand. Figure it out this week. And if there's any problems at all, please contact us, and we will help you. So once you go to arc.divinity.edu.au, I've already logged in, but you'll be prompted to put in your username and password. I'll log myself out is to give you the screen. So this is the screen that you'll look like when you go to arc.divinity.edu/au, and you go to student or staff login, and you click that, and it'll prompt you to put in your username and or password. So mine's just in there automatically. And on the home page of ARC, you've got these three three big blocks. You've got support, my units, and libraries. It's the ones on the right that are the most that I just want to make sure we know about. The support is if you have any problems with ARC or anything, you can contact then that will lead you to the kind of University of Divinity IT people. But for the units that you're doing, the ones on the right are the most important ones. So I'll just do the one on the far right. That's your link to the library, the online libraries. The University of Divinity has what's called the Library Hub, which is the online site of the University of Divinity Library. And on there, you can search the University of Divinity Library catalog, and you can get a sense of what books are out there. Now, each college has its own, most of them have their own libraries, and you can get a sense of what books are physically held in each of the libraries. Now, that's wonderful and delightful, but the problem is we're up here in Queensland. We're not down in Melbourne, where most of the colleges are, so it doesn't really matter if there's a physical book on one of the shelves. But also, fortunately, there's a lot of electronic resources, things that you can access electronically on the UD library site. So if you click on libraries, it'll take you right to the Library Hub, where you can kind of start searching for things and looking for resources. Now, a lot of your, like in my unit, for instance, almost all of the readings I link to electronic resources that are on the UD Library Hub. So you won't have to worry about coming into the library to get a physical book or buying a book. I always say to my students, if you want to buy the books for the class, go for it. Some people just prefer to have like a physical book rather than reading something online. But we try to make everything as accessible for you as possible in terms of the readings. That's why we make them electronic. But if you want to buy a book, that's up to you. Or if you want to print out your readings so that you have them physically and you can scribble on them and make notes, which is something I like to do, it's really up to you. But in general, the UD, you can search for resources, and the Library Hub is also where your ARC pages will link to get you to the readings. But I'll show you an example of how that works. So, any questions about that or anything I've set up to this point? Okay, so that's the libraries. Let me go back and get to the main thing. All right, the units. So once you log in, you can click on My Units, and a unit list will come up of your units. So the way that ARC works is that for every unit that you're enrolled in, you'll actually get put in 2 ARC sites on ARC. So again, for every unit, you're part of 2 ARC sites. So if you're enrolled in 2 units this semester at St. Francis, you'll be part of 4 ARC sites. So each unit is divided into 2 ARC sites that you're part of. First one is called the meta unit. That's the unit where most of everything is. So if you're enrolled, say you enrolled my mystical theology class, which you have it up there, you'll see mystical theology meta unit, right? That's the main thing. That's where you're going to spend most of your time is in the meta unit. The meta unit is where you find your readings. The meta unit is where you can read about the assessments, or where you can basically access everything, where you'll get the Zoom link if you're zooming in, or if you want to watch the recording, all that kind of stuff, where the week-to-week schedule is located. And the reason it's called the meta unit is because the way our kind of cohorts are structured, our units can be both undergraduate units and postgraduate units. So you can be enrolled in a unit as an undergraduate student, or you can be enrolled in a unit as a postgraduate student. And both undergraduates and postgraduates, if they're taking the same unit, they share the meta site. That's why it's called meta, right? It's overlapping. It's over everyone. It's meta. So everyone goes to the meta site to get their readings. Everyone goes to the meta site to get the class schedule for the day. Everyone goes to the meta site for all of that stuff. So, pardon? Yeah, for Zoom, the Zoom link is all the same. That's where all the meta stuff is. Now, the other ARC site that you will be enrolled in or put in for every unit is called a blended site. So if you look right beneath the mystical theology one, you see how there's two ones right there. There's blended mystical theology and then blended mystical theology. The top blended one is the postgraduate blended site. The bottom one is the undergraduate blended site. Now, it's a very misleading name because blended implies what? Like things coming together? But the blended sites is actually where the postgraduates and the undergraduates unblend, right? They actually are separated. I don't know why it's called blended, but that's
because instead of having class and online distinct, it's the class and online are together, and that's where it's
okay. Sure.
Happens there.
Like, class includes postgraduate and undergraduate.
In class, so as in like what we've got here, we are in a blended environment.
Yes.
Both in class and online students.
Then this separates it between the two.
It brings them together.
But see, but the meta unit does that too. So it doesn't matter. Anyway, so that's, if you're wondering why is it called blended, it's like ARC. It's a meaningless signifier, right? Okay. just ignore it.
Don't think too much about it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so if you're a postgraduate, so if you're taking the postgraduate version of mystical theology, you'd be in the 900 version. If you're taking the undergraduate version of mystical theology, you'd be in the undergraduate version. If you're auditing, you don't have to worry about that at all. All right. So yes, I know you're auditors, right? So if you're auditing a unit, you don't worry about blended. All you care about is the meta, because the main purpose of the blended is where you submit assessments, right? That's pretty much the only reason for the blended. It's so that we can differentiate for assessment reasons. The undergrads submit here and the postgrads submit here. But if you're auditing, you're not submitting assessments, so don't even worry about it. All you care about is the meta. But if you're enrolled, this is where you will go to submit your assessments. So that's why you're enrolled in two different versions of each unit. The meta, where kind of all the content is, and then the blended, where you will submit your assessments and you can get assessment information. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yep. Great. All right, let's go into a meta just so you can see. So you should have once you get logged in, you'll see a list of all your units, both the metas and the blended. And if you go into a meta unit, they should tend to look sort of similar. So up at the top, you'll have kind of general things. You'll have an announcements forum where your lecturer can put in announcements about class, and that'll automatically get emailed to you. You'll have a Zoom link. So that's where if you're going to log into Zoom for that week, that's where you'll find the Zoom link. You've got the Zoom passcode. It's also where you can go to find recordings of the unit. So if you missed a week and you want to go back and watch the recording for that week, you click on that Zoom link. And then once you get into the Zoom link, I'll show you this. You click on the Zoom link, and once you get into the Zoom link, you can go down here, and then under Zoom, it says Cloud Recordings. You click on the tab for Cloud Recordings, and all the recordings will be there from week to week. But that's how you access the recordings through the link, Zoom link. And then to actually access Zoom, then you have the actual Zoom meetings. So, because this is under the upcoming meetings tab. So I've got my first Zoom meeting scheduled for Tuesday, the 29th of July, because that's the first time that our class is going to meet. So that's the Zoom. That's the Zoom link. Let me go back here. All right, and then you've got, and like in my class, I've got a sign up section for students to select a week they want to present. Now you also find here your unit profiles. Now my unit profiles aren't up here yet. I'll pop them up there tomorrow. I just making the final kind of tweaks and edits on them, but they'll be up there tomorrow. The actual PDFs of the units that kind of outline everything about the unit. Most of the information that's in the unit profiles is also repeated on the rest of the ARC site. So the readings from week to week, the links to everything is also repeated. So just pay attention to the stuff that's up there. And then you come down and you've got these different tiles. So each tile is like its own little section. The top three tiles are kind of general. You've got a getting started, an assessment information, and the learning schedule. That gives you kind of overall information about your unit. So if I went to like getting started, it's just got a little hello message, and then just a few bits and pieces about our class, when our class meets, where it's going to meet, all the readings, noting that there's a reading for week 1, so make sure you don't miss that. It's just a kind of welcome getting started. little message. And you can go read about assessments and assessment informations, and you have the full learning schedule, which is just a week-to-week schedule. And then each week has its own little tile. So every week for every unit, it's its own little page. So you click on each week, and you'll get all the information that you need for that week. So this is like week 1 in my class. Very first week, I've got a reading that I want people to do before they come to class. We're going to do that reading. I've got a pre-class reflection question that I want people to reflect on and maybe pop an answer in the discussion forum if you want. And then I've got a link to the reading right here. So this is an example. If you click on that link to the reading, a separate window pops up. Internet works, yes. And then you've got the reading for week 1. Right there. So you don't have to go search in the library. It's just right there, accessible for you. And that's the same thing that will happen in every tile for every week. So if you go into each tile, you can see what the readings are, link to the reading, see if there's any activities that the lecturer wants you to do either before class or after class. It's all there from week to week. Any questions about that? Okay.
Yes, sorry. Yes, I'm online. I don't know if you can see me.
Yes, I can see you. Yeah.
Hi. So, because I'm actually doing this in parallel, so I'm on my own ARC login. And so in what you're showing there, if you need to submit something like a forum entry or something, do we enter it there or do we have to go back to the blended tab?
Yeah, great question. Usually if it's a forum entry, if it's like a week-to-week, like reflection little post, that usually happens in the meta unit. So not in the blended, in the meta unit. So I have here in like week 1, if you can see here, I've got week 1 discussion forum. That's where, so if you click on that in week 1, then you can click on that, add your discussion topic and put your post in the forum and post it. Now for my unit, I don't have any, it's not actually part of the assessment, but I have them there in each week because I want to encourage people to reflect and write responses to the reflection questions if they want, but I'm not actually marking it or assessing it. But even if forum postings are marked and assessed, they happen in the meta unit, whereas the blended sites are more for submitting things like papers, essays, PowerPoint presentations, that kind of stuff.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yep. So if I go back to mystical theology, and then I look, these are the 2 blended sites. I haven't actually fully finished setting up these blended sites. That's my work to do for this week, to put all the assessment stuff. So they're pretty blank right now. But if I go back here, I'll show you an example like from last year, which was, if I go down and find, yeah, I'll just do that. Yeah, so this is a blended site from last semester. That I taught last semester. See, it's got assessment links, submission link for assessment 1, submission link for assessment 2, submission link 3 and 4. So that's where you would go in and you would submit your actual assessments when they're due. And if you click on that link and it's clear how you actually upload an essay, upload a document, and that's kind of where you do that. And then it's through there. Then when you submit your assessments through there, then they show up in ARC for me or your lecturer, and we actually mark them in ARC. We can make comments and do everything in ARC, and then you get your feedback through ARC as well. So it's not, you don't have to email your lecturer your essay, and they don't email you back. It's all takes place on this system. So which makes it a bit easier and centralized. Okay, any questions about that? Yeah, okay. Good. All right, last thing that I want to talk about is orientation. We have an orientation little kind of module here. that will orient you a bit more to St. Francis. So you also have been enrolled in this. So if you log onto your ARC site, you'll see that one of your units is the St. Francis College orientation. So I have it right here. So it says St. Francis College orientation. And if you click on that, and this is also something I encourage you to do this week before classes start, is to kind of make your way through this orientation site. So we've got a nice little video here from Ruth, our principal. And then we've got that's a link to the student handbook, our St. Francis student handbook, where you can read about policies and procedures and ethical expectations and all that kind of stuff is in there. And then again, we've got our kind of little tiles here that you can make your way through. Introducing St. Francis, codes of conduct, academic integrity, preventing harm at the university, respect and diversity at the University of Divinity, a thing on Accordance Bible software for those of you who are doing biblical studies classes, FAQs, information about our study skills workshop. We'll update that soon because we're going to do one soon. So yeah, I would encourage you to go through that and just familiarize yourself with that content because it'll provide you a good orientation to the college and a broader orientation to the university and its policies and procedures. Did I miss anything, Adam?
Maybe just the links at the top, just so that you can see those little drop downs.
Which one?
The resources right at the very top.
Oh, yeah. Resources? Yeah, so this is on ARC. If you look at the resources, what we've got here, that's the library hub, which I linked to the library hub. So anytime that you're in ARC, if you want to go to the library hub, you don't have to kind of go all the way back to the beginning. You can just go to resources. And then also the style guide. So the style guide details how you should format and write your papers, how you do citation, and all the expectations around formatting and writing papers. So that will get you directly to the UD style, style guide, all that. So, all right, I think that's it. Thanks.
Thanks very much. Thank you. So the key thing out of that for everyone that we really want to make sure after tonight, if you haven't already got onto ARC, please check. If you can't get onto ARC, please call us as soon as possible, because we want to get you on there as quickly as possible. What we don't want is for you to come up to class and we spend the first half an hour of class trying to troubleshoot people getting into ARC, because that just wastes everyone's time. So if you could get on there today already, tomorrow, and just make sure you can log into ARC and you can see what Peter just showed you. Okay, some more fun stuff. Academic policies and documents. Everyone's excited, I can tell. All right, there's a few things I just need to share with you, really important information. The first of which is the University of Divinity's Code of Conduct, which is accessible from the university's website. There's also lots of links to it from lots of different locations. This is a really important code of conduct in that it governs all that we do as well as all that you do. In your application, you signed up to abide by the code of conduct. We commit to abide by it as well. And it contains important information like we want to strive to act with honesty and integrity together. We want to promote the responsible exercise of academic freedom and academic judgment. You don't have to agree with your lecturer, okay? You can disagree with them. The thing I would just say to you is, why do you disagree? Okay, let's have that conversation. And that's good learning. That's good teaching. We want those conversations in the classroom. We don't expect you to agree with everything we say. We're all learning together. It's just that we're perhaps a little bit further down that learning road than maybe you are, and we want to bring you along on that journey with us. So this governs how that happens. We want everyone to be courteous towards everyone else in behaviour and in communication. All right. I'm diabetic, by the way. My pump's just telling me something, so I have to answer. All good. There we go. So, yes, we want everyone to be courteous towards everyone, whether that's in the online environment, discussion forums, in the classroom, in the way you speak to your lecturers via email, in the way they respond to you. If you ask them a question and they don't respond to an email at all, then that would be, appropriate to follow that up and say, hey, I sent that email. Usually everyone responds, and if they haven't, then it's usually just an accident. But the expectation is that we deal with each other courteously, respectfully. We want this to be a safe learning environment. St Francis College is a place where people, we want them to feel safe, particularly those who have felt exclusion in other places. We want this to be a safe place for everyone. And so we try to ensure that that is retained and remains safe in an ongoing way, and we keep this place as a safe space for everyone, you included, us included, those online and those in the classroom. We want to protect ourselves and each other from harm, and in particular, children, young people, vulnerable adults. We want to use the university resources responsibly. So earlier, when Eve was sharing about the library, she spoke about copyright laws. So this is an example where you are allowed to copy up to 10% of a book or a chapter, whichever is greater. Don't copy more than that. Don't copy the whole book. You have access to a lot of online resources via the Library Hub, and you can download a whole chapter from a book very, very quickly and very, very easily. Don't download the whole book, okay? You can read it online via the Library Hub and go back and continue to read it, but if you need the whole book, then the expectation under copyright law is you go and buy it and honour the work of the author, the editor, the publisher, and all of that. And we would expect you to do that as well. That also includes environmental and economic sustainability. Things like don't print 1 billion copies of something. If you've already got one copy, one should be enough to get you through. Try to think about how you can do that sustainably. We need you to comply with the applicable policies and procedures and Australian laws at all times. And there is an important point there about your rights. You have the right to seek an appeal of any decision. You have the right to appeal, for example, a mark that you get. You can appeal that mark. You can appeal a decision that's made, whether that's the decision of a lecturer, the decision of me as the academic dean or someone else, all the way up through the university leadership. And you can make that a complaint or an appeal in good faith if you believe that there's been a breach of this code of conduct. Please take your time to read through that because, as I said, if you've gotten this far, you've signed up to agree to abide by it. So it's important that you do know the content of the code of conduct. Okay. I do want to show you a unit profile. I'll show you one of mine. This is a unit I'm teaching this semester. Similar to Peter's got the Zoom link at the top, and here's the unit profile for this subject. So you'll see a description of the unit, learning outcomes, a comment about Gen AI, then the assessment items, when they're due, how much they're worth in terms of their weight. So not every assessment is worth as much in terms of the whole unit. And that's what the weighting means. So the first quizzes are only worth 20%. There's an essay plan that's worth 25% in a tutorial presentation and so on. So take your time, go to the unit profile. It's usually about, well, this one's 14 pages. It'll be about that long. It'll have clear indication of due dates, expectations of assessments, a bibliography with some suggested resources to use. That's a good place to start for your reading towards assessment tasks and so on. So there's lots of links in mine. You'll have marking rubrics, for example, which gives you a clear indication of the expectations for each assignment and how it will be marked, what categories the lecturer is looking for in your assignment. So when you're doing it, you can think, have I shown that I understand this topic, for example, that first one at the top. And then I have some representative texts, and I provided links that take you back into the Library Hub where you can access those electronic resources from the unit guide. So a lot of work goes into these unit profiles by lecturers, so do make sure you read them. Usually the main questions that you will have, when, for example, when's my assessment due, it's in the unit profile. So if you start there, it'll be a good place for you to find that information. Okay. So Peter's already talked about the assessments. I just want to talk about how assessments are graded. Let me take that back a bit. So the support button back in ARC at the front here takes you to the IT at UD page with a whole bunch of student documentation and guides and everything. Again, here's a link to the Code of Conduct again. I'd encourage you to go through that and have a look. In terms of grading and assessment, this is what you can expect in terms of marking. The overall result in a unit, if it gets between 85 and 100% overall, it's a high distinction for that unit. Then 75 to 84 is a distinction. A credit 65 to 74, a pass 50 to 64, and a fail is anything 49 or below. You can see the assessment policy if you can't sleep one night, you want some light reading. But there is also some information that is relevant for you. If you think there is something that you need to appeal about, you can read up on the policy there. Just come and have a conversation with me if you're not sure. I do want to point to this part of this page as well about extensions and special provisions. You have the right to request an extension in extenuating circumstances, and I would encourage you to do that early. So if you get sick, if something happens in your family, there's some sort of significant event that happens for you that was unexpected, unplanned for, that required you to delay, it will mean that you couldn't complete an assessment task, you can request an extension. The extension request form is here, and in its first instance goes to your lecturer. Your lecturer can grant up to 2 weeks extension for any particular assignment. If the circumstances warrant a longer extension, then you complete a Dean's extension and that comes to me. So that would be something that's a bit more substantial. A surgery is required and the recovery time is 3 or 4 weeks, something like that. I can grant up to 4 weeks extension. There are other things that we can do if a really, really significant event happens. That means you just can't complete the work. What I would say is come and speak to us as soon as practical in those moments, and don't suffer in silence. The thing that's really saddening for us is when a student just disappears. They're struggling. We don't know why. We really, really want to help. We've got Robin, who was available for tutorial support, for academic support to really help, and she really loves helping students. We can do a support plan for people with diagnosed conditions, whether that's mental health, physical conditions, to make reasonable adjustments to assessment profiles, to due dates, things like that. We can put that in place. I know that if there's something beyond this policy that I need a special consideration for, I can get on the phone to the university and say, hey, I think this warrants something different. And I know that the university will be 100% behind us and you in supporting reasonable adjustments to circumstances. We had a cyclone last semester. We had to make a universal extension for everyone. And we just did that, and the university went, hey, that's completely understandable. Good decision. We support that decision, and we had to make all sorts of adjustments in that moment. We've had people who have lost family members, people who have ended up needing surgery. We just really want to support you. There's no shame in asking for an extension. There's no guilt placed upon you for making a request for an extension. There's no loss of marks for requesting an extension. What there are loss of marks for if you're late and you don't have an extension. There are late penalties that do apply if you submit beyond the due date of an assessment. That they are listed in that assessment policy, and I'd encourage you to just be aware of that. But please come and speak to us. Lecturer in the first instance, me in the second, or Linda can help as well. We really, really want to help you through those circumstances if the need arises. And I would be surprised if you get through your degree without at least one extension request. It's okay. We've all done it. I'm going to pause for a moment. Any questions about any of that so far? Any questions from online? I know you're there. Okay. Academic integrity. Another really, really important topic. What do you think we mean by academic integrity? Would someone online like to give their best guess to defining what we mean by that?
Sourcing, making your sources and citations.
Thank you. That's a great example. So when you refer to someone else's work, you appropriately give them credit for that work. Yep, that's a great example. Someone else?
Cheating, plagiarizing.
Okay, so that's the negative understanding of it. Yep.
ChatGPT.
Okay, we're going to get to that in just a moment. Yep. Someone in the room, what do we mean by academic integrity? Not pinching someone else's work. Yep, great.
I read the other day where students in the UK have been using AI to write their assignments.
Yep. Yeah, we will talk about AI. We'll talk about AI in just a moment, but that falls under this banner as well. I want you to just imagine yourself, just have a look around the room. If you're online, have a look around the screen at the different faces that you have on the screen. And I want to imagine yourself in, whether it's 2 years' time, 3 years' time, 4 years' time, 9 years' time, whatever it is, at your graduation. You've got your gown on, you've got the colours that match your degree that you're about to be awarded, and standing alongside you are these other people also about to graduate with their award, whether it's the same one or a different one, but they've journeyed alongside you, and both of you have earned your degree. Couple of things here. We want you to have confidence in that piece of paper that you're going to receive on that day, that it actually means something to you. We also want to have confidence that it means something to the university that you have earned that degree. And we also want to have confidence that it means something to the world, that piece of paper. Academic integrity it affects all of us, lecturers, students, the university, and our impact on the world. We want your work to be your work. And where it is not your work, we want you to cite whose work it is. You won't get through your degree without relying on someone else's work. That's expected. But you need to properly attribute that work to that person and say, I got it from them, or I got it from this location. That's, in broad terms, what academic integrity is about. There are breaches of academic integrity along the way. Most of the time, they're accidental. In your early assignments, you're not going to get your citations right. Absolutely 100% spot on. It's okay. We'll guide you through that process. It's part of learning. There's a language to it, an academic language to how to cite someone else's work. And the lecturers will guide you through how to do that. There are other forms of breaching academic integrity, whether it's cheating, contract cheating, which is paying someone else to do the work for you, breaches of copyright, plagiarism, which is copying, taking someone else's work and not giving credit for it. Recycling is resubmitting a piece of work that's already been submitted, whether it's yours or someone else's. There are lots of other ways of breaching academic integrity. And there is a policy that's in place there. There's a new one that's going to take effect from the 1st of January, which is even broader because it takes into account the emergence of Gen AI and its impact upon education. Which brings me to the question of Gen AI. Now, here's a question for everyone. We'll start with online. Can you use Gen AI in your studies?
Yes.
Come on online. Okay. Didn't see who responded.
It was from me.
Thanks, Deirdre.
No worries.
Anyone want to give a different answer to that? In the room, online?
In your study for, in terms of how do you define in your studies?
In the broad, in the broadest possible understanding.
Yes,
so
it's benign in that sense.
So yes, you can. Okay.
I would say you can, but whether you should, whether it will be accurate, is a whole different thing because AI gets it wrong a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when can you use it is the next question. Now, this is where the questions get a little bit more complicated, because I'm going to be honest here, the university's learning this alongside you. We're way behind the 8 ball in terms of understanding Gen AI. Like, we're specialists in material from 2,000 years ago or 1,500 years ago. That's what we're interested in. Emerging technologies that are really the speed at which they're transitioning. We're not experts in it, but it's having an impact upon that big question of academic integrity.
That if you're having trouble understanding something that you are reading,
yep,
perhaps it can be quite useful
to
have Gen AI explain to you in simple terms what this means.
Okay.
So a piece of text,
yep,
dense, something written by Germans.
Yep. A lot of that going around.
For the Germans, but some of them are quite dense.
Okay.
And just to see a different interpretation, perhaps it would help in the moment. And you haven't got access to talk to the student, another student. You haven't got access to talk to your lecturer or a tutor. Yeah.
Okay. That might be a time to use it. I'm not going to say don't do it. I'm not going to say do it, but that is an example of when you might use it.
Ethically, I think that could be a defender.
Okay. Someone else? Someone online?
Well, yep, it's Dee. Just on a like using it as a comparative tool. Say if I was to ask Copilot during any of my studies, I might compare some writing texts from the poetic verses or texts from Kant and ask Gen AI to reference Kant in the light of a poetic verse using nature. And I might also ask Gen and I to give to me a verb or noun producing 5 words that I could use in that nature study to broaden my poetic reference into a reference of Kant.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's going to be the next question. Is how. It's how. So in both of those scenarios, it raises a question for me of at what point does the student tell the lecturer, I use Gen AI? Now, we're still figuring that out. Okay. So Deirdre's example, I would suggest to you putting a footnote, and there's a footnote style according to Chicago Manual of Style that says, for this verb, I use this prompt, ChatGPT this day, and just footnote it. It's better to be honest about that use of it than to not put a citation and potentially be at risk of a breach of academic integrity. So err on the side of citing it rather than not. But I would also suggest in Deirdre's example, sorry, I've forgotten your name, Joanne. In Joanne's example, we're here about learning. It's not just about the assessment. Mm-hmm. And the use of something like a thesaurus in Deirdre's example, there's a formative learning experience in actually going to a physical text or a digital version of a thesaurus and working through that problem yourself. And I want to encourage you to press into that difficulty. That's where the hardest one, the ones you have to wrestle with the most, is where you're going to experience the greatest learning. Mm-hmm.
So a thesaurus to change a word is that
you don't have to cite that. Not in my experience.
No,
But if you're using AI to get another verb or word,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
It's better to cite
what you want it to say.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, is that word and
Use AI as a thesaurus, or whether you use Word as a thesaurus.
you can get the Macquarie online.
Yeah. I mean, we've got this sort of artificial intelligence already at work in Microsoft Word. It's been there for years, the spell checker, the thesaurus that's already built into it. What's different these days is this generative aspect to it, and the fact that it appears even when you're not realizing it. You put in a Google search, you get an AI summary immediately, unless you have switched that off. And so it's built into the process before you even request it. And so there's something happening at a subconscious level that's informing the way you are learning. And we need you to be aware of that and not just give in to the easier way of doing it, which would be, here's my essay question, spit out 2,000 words on this topic. And it would do it.
Mm. And that, I'm sorry, it just does boil back down to the integrity, though, of your learning. Gen AI is quicker and will, even after this unit, be made more so handier. And as you say, it will be there, but it does boil back down to the academic integrity at every point.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So this brings up the last question in this series of should you use it? And here I want you to think about your motivation. What got you to this seat in this room or online? What brought you here today? What was that motivation? What was the intent? Was it just simply curiosity? That's okay. That's a valid reason to be here. And we love curious people. I'm intensely curious. I really want to know things, and I really love investigating things that pop up in my mind, and I go off in all sorts of tangents. It's fun. And even questions that I've answered once before, I'll come back and answer them again, and we'll explore different ways of answering the same question. Be curious. It's a great thing. Perhaps you're on the pathway to formation, to ordination. Maybe that's your motivation. Maybe you're already in a role and you're upskilling, that you've decided to take on an additional degree in order to add something to the role you're already in. Maybe you're not even sure why you're here. You've just turned up and exploring. We've got people that do that. And we love those people as well being a part of our class, because they ask really good questions in the classroom. I want you to think about why you're here, because that's bigger than the assessment. And this is one of these problems when we start talking about Gen AI, we always just focus in on assessment. I want you to think broader than that. Think about learning, think about who you are, the person that you're becoming. And the part that's really important is that wrestle with that word. I can't think of the word that I want to say. Go and wrestle with that word and find a better one. And if you can't find a better one, then just use the one you've got and put it in the assignment and submit it. And then 3 a.m. after you've submitted it, the right word will come to you. That's what happens, and that's okay, because that's part of your learning experience. That frustration of, I didn't quite submit exactly what I wanted to submit, but I submitted it anyway. That's great. Okay? It doesn't have to be perfect. And in fact, that's one of the dead giveaways that someone's used AI, that it's absolutely perfect. The other thing, we have a bit of an advantage here, university-wide and college-wise. We're small, and we want to hear your voice, and we want to hear that your voice is emerging and developing and growing. I don't want to hear ChatGPT's voice being played off as yours. I want to hear your voice.
Would that be plagiarism?
Yeah. If it's unsighted, and if it's the whole assignment, absolutely it would be a form of plagiarism. as passing off someone else's work or something else's work, as the new policy says, as your own.
The thing is, it mightn't be good information anyway, mightn't it? Because it might be. It sounds to me, I don't know exactly what it is still, Gen AI, but it sounds to me like it's a system where it's gathering a whole lot of information from you from various sources, but you don't know where those sources are from. So it's sort of like it's unsighted. It's an unsighted research machine, so you don't know where it's coming from anyway.
That is a really, really, really important point. Okay? You don't know where it's coming from. Now, that brings me to my next slide. Thank you so much for being one slight step ahead of me. Here is a book. I just grabbed it off my shelf. Doxology by Jeffrey Wainwright, Systematic Theology. How did this book get here? Do you know anything about the process that this book went through, or any book for that matter? It's from 1980, this publication.
Old school. So it would have been, he would have done one draft, and he would have taken it to his happy editor.
Mm-hmm.
He's been designated by the publisher.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't have written it unless a publisher had said, yes, we want to publish this, your work.
Yeah, that would have changed it all.
Well, it's not about that. It's a conversation that goes on for years before something like that. That's a big, that is a huge thing, doxology.
Yeah.
And then it will have gone to different readers. They would have sent chapters out to different readers.
Yep.
And then it will have come back again, and the editor and the writer would have sat down and worked through every single comment on every single line.
Yeah.
And then maybe after about probably 5 years before it eventually got to the point where then it would go to more readers as a whole, and then they would feed back.
Yep.
That's a big book.
Yeah. So, and not to mention within the book, probably articles would have been published along the way of sections of the work that then got modified and responded to from academia. People reading the articles and responding to the author, saying, "Hey, or disagree, whatever."
Yeah.
So there's a refinement process along the way, and there's a known process along the way. We know the publisher is Oxford University Press. Okay, reputable publisher. And just a quick story, a colleague I know from one of the other colleges, his name's John McDowell, he submitted a book to Oxford. It went out to 2 readers blind, so the author's name is taken off it, and the reviewer's names are not known to the author. They're known to the editor, but not to the author. One reviewer came back with a whole bunch of suggestions, edits, but yes, this should be published. The other reader came back and said, do you know what, this sounds a lot like this person has read John McDowell but hasn't actually acknowledged that source. Hasn't actually acknowledged John McDowell in his writing. Now, the editor came back to him and said, I'm sorry, we've got a knockback, we can't go ahead. Oh. And he said, but you know that's me. Yeah, I'm sorry, our policy is if we get a knockback, we knock back. That's how rigorous they are, even though it's absolutely stupid and ridiculous and contradictory. So he took the book somewhere else and sold a bazillion copies of it.
Yeah, exactly. But still, they were being...
The thoroughness of the work.
Yeah, and especially now.
Yes. Because they want to preserve that reputation, Oxford. They want to keep it as high a standard as they possibly can. Any knockback is a knockback. That's it.
They just picked the wrong person to send it to, someone who actually knew him personally.
They knew his work and, the blindness of it felt. So here's another, this is a journal article, just one that I happen to have on my desk. A very similar process. How did this get here? It's not quite as lengthy. Journal articles tend to be faster and more recent research and research that is the author is experimenting with and wanting the academy to give feedback on. And so this usually gets out of date a little bit quicker, but it's gone through a rigorous process. You submit it to the journal sends it out. If the editor reads and thinks, yes, this is appropriate for our journal, sends it out to blind review. 2 reviewers at least will read it without knowing who the author is, send back their feedback. Usually reviewer number 2 is the mean one. And then the author does revisions, it goes back and forth, and then finally gets published. That can usually be done in 12 months to 2 years-ish. What's your experience, Peter? Something like that?
Something like that, yes. I submitted a journal article 6 months ago, and I'm still waiting for the first reviews back. Sometimes it takes a long time.
Yeah, it just depends on the editors and how much they push. So similar question for a website. You know, this is where you need to start developing a critical lens. How did that website, just a general website, I'm not talking about Gen AI now, just that website.
Does this follow the money question?
Oh, yeah, potentially. Is it a blog? Is it kind of something that's got some substance to it? Or is it Wikipedia? Is it something else? We want you to start engaging a critical lens when you're dealing with resources, whether it's a book. Now, this is published in 1980. Okay, that's okay. In theology, we're dealing with lots of ages of text, but it's 45 years old. So what do you do with that age of that? It could be okay, but you need to be thinking in those terms. Do I still work with that or not? The website, who put it out there? Is it just someone's blog who's just an opinion piece of their own creation? There's no review process whatsoever. Wikipedia, there's kind of an argument in a couple of different directions here because it's publicly reviewed. So there's a kind of critical review process going on there, but depends on the article. So you might need to look at how much revision's going on that. Well, that's right.
Quick Google of the names of the people who did the reviews.
That's right. So, you know, we're balancing here. When we apply this question to Gen AI, we really need to start thinking ethically, because Gen AI is a thief.
When did
It steals the information.
start?
ChatGPT came out 2021, I think was its release, and that sort of exploded. It's been around and developing ever since.
But we've been using earlier, I guess that's generative, but when you think about using Google Maps, when you think about using spell checker, they're all using
Early types.
elementary sort of building blocks that have then been developed into generative AI.
Algorithms have been around for a long time.
Clippy. Remember Clippy from Microsoft Word in 1995? A little assistant.
It looks like you're writing a love letter. Can I help you?
Very old.
It's annoying to bounce around. Yeah.
Gen AI scrapes the internet, finds information, gives it to you in a manner that is palatable to you. It learns you. It doesn't tell you that you're a terrible person. It gives it to you in a way that appeals to your learned sense of sensibility, like what you like, and passes it off as its own information. Now, I did an experiment today with this book. I went to Copilot.
AI, is it Copilot?
Copilot's the Microsoft AI. I also went to ChatGPT and I asked it, I said, give me a key quote from this book, and I told it the book that I wanted, and give me the reference, including the page number, in Chicago Manual of Style. That's the style that we use. You can be really, really specific with this thing. It spat out a reference with a page number, and what do you think I did? And what do you think I found? It didn't exist. And I said to it, that doesn't exist. And it said, oh, yeah, you're right. It actually acknowledges that. It said, yeah, sorry, I was just doing a summary.
It argues back.
And I got really angry with it. I said, don't lie to me. I want a genuine quote from this book. And if you cannot give me one, then be honest with me and tell me that you can't give me one. It spat out exactly the same quote.
Oh no.
There was no quote in that.
It's got no ability to learn yet then, has it, or not?
But this book isn't digitised yet. It's from 1980.
Just a lot of thought.
So it's going to journal articles that it can find that quote this and getting an idea of what other people are saying about this book and passing it off as its own to appease me.
Oh, that's good.
To appease the command that I gave it.
Oh, it's a bad slave. Very bad slave.
That's why I want you to have a really, really critical lens about the information it spits back at you. Now, it can be okay to say to it, I've got this paragraph, I don't quite understand it, help me understand it. Give me a summary. But don't stay there. If it prompts you to start thinking, then just step away from that and go think somewhere reputable, a journal article, a book, even Wikipedia, because there's some level of critical engagement from other people. Go to the Library Hub and put that question in there, or put some key words in the Library Hub and use the text that you know have been refined by this academic community, this university. Don't just trust what it says. Because you know what I'm going to do as a marker, right? When you put aside, if you had have just done what I just did and it said, here's this quote from Jeffrey Rainwhite Doxology, and you put that in a footnote, you just copy and paste thinking, oh yeah, ChatGPT's given me a really good quote, I'm going to use that. You know what I'm going to do, right? As the marker, where did that quote come from? And I'll ask you, where did you get this quote from? Okay.
Does the referencing guide deal with generally?
With what, sorry? Yes.
Chicago referencing.
It does. So Chicago has a style. I have made a statement about Gen AI in my unit profile. It came from one of the other lecturers who shared it with us, and we used it appropriately. And there is a link.
Oh, not without going and following the links first.
There's a link in my statement to Chicago Manual of Style and how to cite ChatGPT or other things. You basically put the prompt that you used, what you told ChatGPT, and the date that you did it, and what version, and so on. And you are allowed to do that, not banned. Please be aware of a couple of things in terms of the way you submit. So let me go back to here. I want to show you what happens thinking. When you submit your assignment, a couple of things happen automatically. There is a plagiarism check done on it by a software called Turnitin. This is used across the world by lots and lots of organisations, lots and lots of universities. It is a form of AI that we have been using for a long time. It will identify similarities with other assessments, similarities with known websites, and other works, and we'll show that to the lecturer. The lecturer will then, if you have, it'll bring up a quote, for example, I can't show you an example of this because it would mean going into a person's assessment, but this is where you would go to submit the work, and where I go to mark once it's submitted. It will bring up, so a similarity report is what we get, and we expect some similarity because you should be citing someone else's work. You should be using quotations and they will get flagged. But this is where the lecturer goes, okay, they've referenced it, all good, what we want. That's good academic practice. They cited Jeffrey Wainwright appropriately. I can look up the page number. Oh, yeah, that is there. That is his work. They told me that it's Jeffrey Wainwright by using the citation. We're all happy.
You always put page numbers in from books anyway, don't you?
So, yeah. And that's part of the style, is to put the page number. Yeah.
So you can refer back to the book.
Yep. However, if it brings up sections that are not cited, we then start a critical engagement with that to say, okay, where did this come from? And Turnitin may say it comes from this website, or sometimes you might have a cover page that you use every single time, and because you've used it every single time, it gets flagged every single time. Oh, that's fine, just the cover page. Where we get worried is if there's a 0%, because there's nothing, and where there's like 75, 80% similarity, then we start wondering what's going on. Again, sometimes it might be that, for example, in a liturgy unit like mine that I did in first semester, there's a lot of referencing of something like the prayer book and writing out prayers that appear somewhere else. Okay, that's expected in that unit or in that context. There might be other situations where a higher score is okay. The human side of it, the lecturer interprets that data. So that's the similarity report. The other one that happens is there is also an AI detector in there that flags what it thinks has come from AI sources. We again have to apply a critical eye to it. Hi. Let Linda deal with that one. That's okay. Yeah, so it might flag a certain percentage or just a number of 5%, 20% that it thinks is being AI generated. And then it'll highlight what portions it considers to have come from an AI source. If it's cited, if there's some sort of citation in that moment, then the lecturer applies a human lens to it, a human interpretation, and that's okay. They might have a conversation with me as the academic team to try and help in that interpretation. There might be a simple conversation with you, simply to say, can you tell me about the preparation of your assignment? Because the thing we also know is that whilst that's there, it springs up false positives all the time. Okay, so we don't rely on it. We want there to be a human interaction here, a human interpretation of the data that this is giving us. But I need you to be aware those two things happen: a similarity report and an AI detection percentage. There have been instances in the university of submission of work that's been generated by AI. It has happened, and when ChatGPT first came out, it would make up its own references. And one lecturer I know got an assignment, and he's like, I've never heard of that reference. And we all went, well, that's a big problem. If you haven't heard of it, you're like the expert in this topic. And this undergraduate student first year suddenly found a reference that you've never heard of. No, the reference didn't exist because ChatGPT made it up. ChatGPT's been developed a bit to not do that, but it's still, as my experiment today shows, it's still making up the references within it just to make me happy.
I've seen online, which I don't use, but there are literally 10 more different AI stuff. They all cost money, so I don't worry about it.
Hundreds.
Hundreds.
Hundreds,
Oh, okay.
not thousands.
Oh, is it?
For every.
I thought Chat GPT was old.
I think there's new generations of it.
It's constantly evolving and it's constantly learning.
There's a lot of AI now that actually you have to pay to have.
Yeah, well, that's the kicker. They get you to
disincentive.
use it and then they get you to pay for it. The other thing we need you to be aware of, not just the ethical questions that arise from this. At the moment, there are significant environmental questions that arise from this as well. The servers that run these things use a huge amount of energy, a huge amount of water. Now, green AI will be on the way. We acknowledge that. But at the moment, that question of, in the code of conduct of the ethical and environmental sustainability question comes up here. And that's a conversation that's happening at the university level, because the university is wrestling with these exact same questions, and it applies to faculty and student alike. So,
AI getting worse?
You'd have to define worse.
It's getting better, which means it's getting worse.
That's what. In terms of academic, it's. I mean,
I still find, I don't know, the times when it feels, or when I've had a couple of times where it has said 100% AI generated. Usually when people are just writing a 200-word reflection that's worth about 2% or something. But actually the quality of it isn't, it often is very general and doesn't go into a sort of specific, I don't, yeah.
I mean, where it's getting better is that you can make it better.
You'd have to ask more questions.
If you know what you're doing and how to ask better questions,
Yeah.
you can make it spit out more and more sophisticated stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of advancing edge of AI, is it's learning how to like take our prompts to it and make better and more sophisticated kinds of content.
But it's scary if it's going to keep on telling you what you want to hear, like you were saying. That's just whoa.
And also,
it's not improving your knowledge. It's like telling you what you want. Like it's just it sounds to me like it shouldn't be.
I just think that's GPT is.
You know what I mean? Like it doesn't sound like proper research.
History.
Well, it's about authenticity.
Now.
For me, it's all about authenticity.
Yeah.
The authenticity of the work.
Good.
How can you study something in a theological college and, for good or bad, want to say something authentic that's coming from your heart?
And
ChatGPT doesn't have one of those.
I think that's a really good point, and that's something we want you to be thinking about all the time. And also, again, we get so focused on assessment when we have these conversations, because that's where the rubber hits the road with this. What you're embarking on here is bigger than the assessment. Assessment's a kind of marker along the way. It's a way of us knowing together that, yep, you're on the right path, but it's bigger than that. One of my, greatest memories in teaching was a student who came in and who said from the beginning, "Oh, I'm not going to be great at this." We're like, "That's okay." And she asked so many really good questions. When the lecturers say to you, you know, come and ask me a question. It's sad when nobody does. She came all the time. We're like, yeah, this is great. And she would have conversation. What do you mean by this assessment question? I don't understand. Or this reading here, I didn't get it. Can you help me? And then she would scrape through with a pass every week, because every assessment, because that was her capability. But we celebrated those passes. And then one day she got a credit.
Yes.
Because I heard the screaming from the next suburb. It was, and we were all genuinely excited because she'd earned that. She'd worked her guts off and got it. Very similar story. I was sitting in a very similar event to this when I started my Bachelor of Theology, day 2 of my training to become a Salvation Army officer, and a lecturer got up and told his story. He left school at 14. He went and became a furniture removalist. Felt a sense of calling into ministry later in life, and went to train in the same place where I'd been training to become a Salvation Army officer, and took to the study like a duck to water. He just loved it. But he didn't finish school. But he applied himself to that learning and kept going and kept going and kept going. At that point, he'd just finished his master's. He's since gone on to finish his doctorate degree. And I sat in that room and said to myself, having failed 2 previous university degrees, I started a music education degree, I started a Bachelor of Applied Science degree, and both of them I pulled out and went, oh, I'm hopeless at this. So I entered that room feeling like I can't do study. I heard his story and went, if he can do it, I think I can do it. I'll have a go. And I applied myself, and I failed subjects along the way. I failed one subject in my bachelor degree. I got poor feedback on other ones, but I kept going. I kept learning and wrestled through it. And I now want you to wrestle through this as well. I want you to grow, and I want you to learn, and I want, at some point, one of you to stand up in front of an orientation class and tell a story about how you were inspired by one of your lecturers, or by a reading, or by failing an assignment because you didn't quite get it, but you kept going. I don't want you to stand up and go, you know what? At your graduation, go, I faked it the whole way. Big deal. You've just brought down the quality
when
of
I did my bachelor, there was we used to have these big box computers. I mean, there was no AI when I was doing my bachelor.
Yeah, and very different world now.
Write the information.
I want you to do your work and to do your best, and I want to see you grow in that.
All right, can I interrupt you? Sorry, I just will say I've been a very good advocate for failure, and I still say that we've been all redeemed, and we all know the feeling of real redemption, price paid. So we continue on in faith.
Thank you. All right. Look, if you have further questions about that, you can. These are the questions I've already asked, so we'll move on. All right. I'm going to pass to Linda, who's going to go through some other important information. Feel free to come and have a chat with me, either online or in person, if you want to talk about any of that.
Stand up and around, please.
Yeah, let's just take it, stretch your legs at home, and then we'll continue with this.
Thank you.
Yeah, well. Yeah.
scary thing is, I suppose, if it becomes widespread enough that people do it the dodgy way, you'll have a whole lot of unqualified people that don't know what they're doing. So there's no point in them being qualified. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
like you'll have a doctor who doesn't know how to doct.
Well, that's where the heart comes in.
I think I read a bunch of stuff across the different sectors. Like I think AI can get you. It can get you to a certain level very quickly, but then the ceiling of where it can take you is it establishes itself pretty quickly. And once if you take that kind of easy route to get to this level pretty quickly, you never develop the hard labor skills that actually can take you well beyond a kind of mediocrity. And I think that's what's lost. You just take the easy route. And kind of, like computer programming, for instance. Like AI can teach you computer programming in an instant almost. But if you never actually learn the nuts and bolts of computer programming, you can never get past where AI can take you pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Right. So, key dates for semester 2.
Just make sure everyone's back.
Oh, are we all back?
Online.
Oops, Phyllis is here.
It might be if screens are off, then it's not coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you
go. Okay. Yeah, key dates for semester 2. Lectures start next Monday. Census Day is the 19th of August. So Census Day is the last day where you can withdraw from a subject without financial penalty. So if you are unable to continue, you don't think it's for you, whatever reason it might be, please get in contact with me before the 19th of August so we can organise to withdraw you and you won't get charged for for the fees. Mid-semester break is between 22nd and 3rd of October, and the whole semester ends, or lectures end, on the 31st of October. The last day of lectures is the last day to withdraw without an academic penalty. So you have an academic transcript. If you withdraw before the 31st of October, then that unit won't appear on your official academic transcript. If after that, it will appear as a fail or whatever mark you got. Study week is the 3rd to the 7th of November, and exam week the 10th to the 14th. Not all units have exams, but you'll definitely have your final assignments due sometime in those last 2 weeks there. And then results are released on the 12th of December, and then you can go have a party. Adam's already been through the Code of Conduct. These are just some other relevant policies that you will find on the University of Divinity website that might be relevant to your studies at some stage. So you can just have a look at those in your own time. They're basically making sure that the university is complying with the laws and regulations of tertiary education and make sure that all the processes are streamlined and so we have one of those policies there was the appeals and complaints policy. So Adam sort of touched on this one, where if you want to say you don't like the mark that you got, you thought you deserved a better mark, you go to your lecturer and you say, please, could you explain why you gave me this mark? And they will explain to you and give you feedback, and hopefully you will improve from there. Or there might be some other type of thing that you might want to have a complaint about. If you feel that you do not receive the treatment or the treatment that you are wanting, there is a national body called the National Student Ombudsman. It's quite a new department, and it's helping to support higher education students throughout Australia to resolve complaints to make sure that all students are treated fairly across the whole sector. There's the contact information should you need them. But we do ask that you make contact with your lecturer, make contact with Adam or myself or Ruth if you have an issue. We will definitely try to work that one out before you need to make contact with these people. Sorry.
What I would just say, in terms of marking and assessment results, start with a conversation. Assume best of intentions from your lecturer, and as they will assume from you. Ask the question, I don't understand the result here. Can you help me understand? Just start with that conversation rather than jumping straight to complaint and appeal. You can jump straight to complaint and appeal, but my suggestion is start with the conversation first.
Wasn't that when I was studying? there were some priests.
Student support services. So students of St Francis College through the Anglican Church of Southern Queensland have access to a free counselling service called Flourish. It's provided through Access Psych Health. So you are, as a student of St Francis, entitled to 6 one-hour counselling sessions per year, and that also includes members of your immediate family as well. Those free counselling sessions can be face-to-face or over the phone or via a video conversation. So there's the number to call should you need those services. As we've mentioned, Dr. Robin Ray is our college tutor. She is very, very helpful in providing all sorts of support. You can get in contact with her by contacting Adam or Ruth or myself or your lecturer. She can help you in person or online or over the phone with any sort of your assessment tasks or understanding your lectures or finding a focus for your essays or checking your drafts or going back through the feedback to help improve after you've had an assignment returned. We'll also be running a study skills workshop. We haven't got a date for that yet, probably early August. So that will help you get the practical skills needed for your academic success. It might cover referencing, how to find the materials in the libraries, how to actually write your essays in an academic style appropriate for theological education. So sometimes within your life, you're going to have things that don't quite go as expected. If it happens during the middle of a semester, you may, as Adam suggested, want to have an extension, either a lecturer's extension in the first instance or a dean's extension after that. At the end of a semester or the beginning of a semester, if you know that you're going to be absent for a while, you may be planning a holiday or something rather like that, you can go on a leave of absence. So over the course of your degree, you can have a year's worth of leave of absence, and that might be for bereavement or jury duty or carer's leave or something like that. And also for medical reasons. If you can get a medical certificate, you can actually get an extra 6 months on top of that year. But we will need that medical certificate.
And do you mind if I just clarify?
Yes.
You can take a year without reason.
Yes.
You just take a year. Those other leaves are in addition to that year.
Right.
So parental leave, bereavement leave, they're separate to the year that you can take for free, without any reason. You just take a leave of absence. So you've actually got quite a bit of leave available if circumstances change, you're moving house or whatever, those sorts of things.
When you signed up and you filled in your application form, there was a little tick box there that said, asked whether you had a disability or health issue that might affect your education. If you ticked yes to that, we will have asked you to fill in a student support plan. So that enables us to help you with practical adjustments that will help you with your assignments or with your study to make it more equitable so that you can succeed. So even if you haven't ticked that little box now and your circumstances change, it is still possible to fill in a student support plan, and we can help you with your study to help you reduce the stress of the study, give you more time. It might be giving you more time in an assignment, whatever helps make it good for you. Do reach out early, though, with your student support plans because they can make quite a bit of difference in reducing the stress. You're going to come in again. Okay.
I really want to advocate for getting these in place because the other thing that happens, so particularly around mental health, and it's totally up to you if you choose to disclose a mental health condition. We don't, force it out of you. But if you share with us that there is a mental health concern and we get a diagnosis, we get a medical certificate to confirm that quite often it's kind of a vicious cycle. The mental health thing becomes the thing that prevents you from completing an assignment. But if we knew about it beforehand, I can make all sorts of alterations for you to help you through, even after the fact. I can be really, really accommodating. But if it comes out after the fact and I didn't know first, it's much harder to support you in that. So particularly with that one, please let us know. And even if it's just to let us know, but you don't want a support plan, that's okay. But if you do want to set up a support plan that's there just in case, as a kind of a fallback in case something happens, please, I would highly recommend getting that in place as quickly as possible.
We also have a college chaplain, the Venerable Olaf Anderson, who's also the parish priest at New Farm, and he's available should you wish to have a chat to a chaplain. Credit applications. So if you have done any previous study, it may be possible for you to get some sort of credit for your previous study. It's a good idea to have a chat to Adam or myself about this, or we might approach you if we know you've got any relevant study that you may be able to get some credit for. Not only can it be from prior study, but it also may be recognition of prior learning, from external study or from your life experience as well. What it does is it will give you some sort of exemption from some of the requirements from your course of study, which is going to reduce the number of units that you have to do and therefore the cost. So if you think you may have some credit from another source, please come and see us and we can get that process underway. And lastly, first points of contact. Various people to see in various circumstances if you are stuck in some way. IT problems, if it's to do with the ARC or something to do with the university, see Adam or myself, and if we can't fix them, then we will escalate them to the university if necessary. If it's something lecture related, then please see your lecturer. They are available before or after lectures, probably not after if it's 9 o'clock at night, or via the ARC messaging system. Tutoring, just see Adam or myself will put you in contact with Robin Ray. And accessing materials for your essays or other assignments, Eve and the other librarians are a great source of help. They will go out of their way to help you find the right reference for your essay, and we'll be very delighted to do it. And as I've mentioned before, college keys and parking permits and any maintenance issues, please see Rod or Tim in admin. That's it from me. Any questions?
Information.
Anything from anyone online that you wanted clarification on from across tonight?
No, you've been very thorough. Thank you.
Very welcome. Right, we will place this recording onto that orientation site within ARC. And so then that just triggers me to remind you, please make sure you can get into ARC. That is the #1 priority at this moment. If you can't, if you're having trouble, please call us as quickly as possible tomorrow, not tonight, tomorrow, and we will help troubleshoot to make sure that you can get into ARC, because that's going to be the place where you will go all the time to get course material, submit your assignments. If you're online and you need to get to the Zoom link, then it's going to be through ARC, all of that. Okay. Any other questions online? Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. We really appreciate your participation and your questions, your comments, your responses. It's been a great night. Travel safely to wherever it is you're heading now. Make sure you know where your first class is and whether it's in person that you're coming to be there on time, or if it's on Zoom, you know where the link is and that you've got your technology all in place ready to participate. Do your pre-reading, get off to the best possible start that you can, and know that we all are cheering you on. We all want to support you. And if you do need help, please don't suffer in silence. Please reach out. God bless you each. See you next time.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.